Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jeremy. This is the Financial Education Channel, and today we're doing Stock Market Weekly Recap number 14 ever in history. Guys, we're recapping April 21st, 2017 week. We're going to look at how the markets did. We're going to look at some of the stocks that went up and down the most. We're going to look at news stories that happened this past week, which we had a lot of earnings. And we're going to look at what we have to look forward to in next week, which we have a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous barrage of earnings next week. Like, unbelievable. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I'm only going to tell you guys about a few of them that we have coming, but it's like I could have made a list here to the sky on how many earnings are coming out the next week, guys. It's ridiculous. So let's get into this. The Dow Jones, we were up about 0.46% this week. The NASDAQ had a fabulous week. Look at that. What, 1.82%. NASDAQ kicked butt. S&P 500 up 0.85%. So definitely a week which we bounced back. Last week was a little bit of a rough week. Now we bounced back this week. NASDAQ was the one that really blew me away, up nearly 2%, guys. Great week for the NASDAQ. So let's look at some of the stocks that went up and down the most this week. GNC, this is 2 weeks in a row this stock's made the list. It was up another 12.8% this week. It's still down big year to date, but I don't know if maybe they're going to have a possible buyout type situation there, but it soared after earnings. And we had Lithium Motors, which owns a lot of auto dealerships around the United States. They had a great week this week. They reported good earnings. They were up almost 11% this week. We had Build-A-Bear Workshop, which is down 33% year to date, but this week they were up around 10%, which is you build a teddy bear, basically. That's their business. William Lyon Homes, a home builder, up 8.76% this week, guys. All the home builders are just having a great year. This should just be a phenomenal year for all the home builders. On the downside, unfortunately, Rite Aid went down over 16%. It looks like that deal with Walgreens is not going to get approved by the government. So Rite Aid has just had a horrific year, down 53% year to date. Cardinal Health down around 11%. This is a healthcare related company that I may have to look back into. I was invested in this many years ago and haven't looked at it in a long time. I may have to go ahead and take a look at that one. Kate Spade down 9.5% this week. Kate Spade is a handbag type company. These handbag type companies, you know, they're up and down. There's one time they're in style, one time they're not. It's like, you know, Louis Vuitton's kind of like the one that's always there. But, you know, Coach was so popular for a few years there. And then also Michael Kors came in and they were the hot cat. And then all of a sudden it was Kate Spade came in. And now who knows who it is, but those are just, they're kind of like risky companies. They make great profits, and when they're hot, they are hot. But my goodness, when they fall, we see what happens with Kate Spade here. So number one news story caught my eyes this week is the number one thing I'm paying attention to, which is not even stock market related and kind of disappoints me, is North Korea. So this whole situation with North Korea, I'm really keeping a close eye on it. I have a feeling something's going to happen over there eventually, but basically North Korea had one of their little pep rallies or whatever you want to call that crap they do over there, and they showed a video of them basically blowing up San Francisco. They showed the American flag on fire and whatnot. They said, you know, they basically did threats against America that they're going to obliterate us to pieces and show us their power and this and that. So, and Trump came out today and tweeted, China is very much the economic lifeline in North Korea, which is very true. So while nothing is easy, if they want to solve the North Korean problem, they will. Basically, he's trying to put it on China, saying, China, you guys just need to solve this once and for all. Do some huge sanctions against North Korea so they can't act up anymore, because there's reports that North Korea is prepping for another nuclear missile type test, possibly underground. And the United States might possibly do a strike on North Korea if that happens. And who knows what would happen after that. Might be an all-out war between us and North Korea. It's hard to tell. Well, it wouldn't just be us. It would be South Korea and us against North Korea. And we'll see what happens with all that. I'm keeping an eye on it, and I don't usually keep an eye on stuff like this, but it's really got my attention right now, and it's the number one story I'm paying attention to right now. Now, on to the stock market related things. GE reported numbers. They reported earnings of 21 cents a share on revenue of $27.6 billion. They killed numbers here. So the analysts were expecting 17 cents, and analysts were expecting $26.4 billion. So they beat earnings by $1.2 billion. They beat revenue. Then they beat earnings by 4 cents. Very nice numbers out of GE there, guys. I haven't looked into GE in a long time, but I may have to, because those are some phenomenal numbers to beat analyst numbers like that, especially on a company like that, because usually analysts are pretty on as far as some of those big conglomerate type companies. They were way off on that one. Verizon Wireless, Verizon Communications, they had a bad quarter. So they only missed by 1 cent, but revenue came in at $29.8 billion versus $30.48 billion was expected by analysts. Basically, Verizon lost around 300,000 customers. T-Mobile is getting a lot of customers away from Verizon. So Verizon's not doing too well right now. I mean, you can't just keep losing customers, because eventually you get to a spot where it's like, uh-oh, we're going to start, profitability will go down substantially. Visa had a phenomenal quarter. Visa did EPS of 86 cents versus 79 cents expected. They did revenue of 4.48 billion versus 4.29 billion was expected. So great numbers out of Visa there. Qualcomm came out with numbers. They had really good numbers, but their stock actually lagged because of some issues with Apple, where they still got some big issues going on with Apple right now, and a lot of lawsuits and whatnot going back and forth. But they did adjusted EPS of $1.34 versus $1.19 expected by analysts. They did $1.599 billion in revenue versus $5.89 billion expected. Qualcomm's one of the biggest semiconductor companies in the world and part of the whole mobile revolution. If you look into what chips are in your smartphones, whether you have an Apple phone or Samsung or any other brand, a lot of chips in there are going to be Qualcomm. I can guarantee you that. Then we had Sherwin-Williams come out with numbers. They had a very good quarter. Sherwin-Williams' first quarter results looked extremely favorable. Sales climbed more than 7% to $2.76 billion, which is faster than the roughly 5.5% growth that most investors were looking to see. Net income did even better, soaring 45% to $239 million and producing earnings of $2.53, which topped analysts. Analysts were looking for $2.05. They did $2.53. Sherwin-Williams is in a sweet spot right now. We talked housing a little bit at the beginning with William Lyon Home stock doing very well this week. The home builders, this is just going to be a great year for them. And what do homes have? A whole bunch of paint on them, whether it's the exterior or the interior, a whole bunch of paint. And a lot of people who may want to put some money into their home, what do? A lot of people paint their home. Sherwin-Williams is one of the best pure plays on paint. So absolutely, a company that should just have a phenomenal year, and you can see it with earnings up 45%. Absolutely amazing. Mattel, the toy maker, they did not have a good quarter. They fell around 9%. They posted a loss of 32 cents per share, and that was compared to 17 cents analysts were expected. So they trashed numbers horribly. That's just, they missed numbers huge there. They did revenue of $736 million for the quarter, which was below what analysts had expected of 801. So Mattel missed numbers huge, and Mattel's just a stock that's just had a horrible decade. Like they own some of the brands like Barbie and some of those brands, and Hasbro's been doing great this for the past decade. Their stock's up more than 200% in the past decade. Mattel's down in the past decade, but they have two very different philosophies. Hasbro is more of like the we're gonna get popular brands, like they have a lot of partnerships with Disney and whatnot, and Mattel's like, we're gonna have our own brands. Well, Mattel's philosophy is obviously not working, while Hasbro's is absolutely working. Bank of America also reported numbers. All the financials have pretty much reported great numbers, except I think it was one financial, I believe it was Wells Fargo, was the only one who reported bad numbers out of all the financials so far. Bank of America, EPS of 41 cents versus 35 cents expected. Revenue of $22.2 billion versus 21.6 were expected. So financials just on fire right now. I mean, pretty much good across the board. And when you're having a pretty decent economy, what's going to do good? The banks. They're going to prosper more than anybody. So that's what we had this past week. Now, what are we looking forward to in this coming week? A lot of stuff, a massive amount of stuff, guys. So first, we have the French election coming up. This is something I don't think is going to have a huge effect on the markets, in my opinion. France is only one little cog in the wheel of the whole global economy. I don't think there's going to be it's going to be a massive move, even if one of the extremist candidates, which there's basically 4 candidates right now who are running, 2 are like extremist type. They're one's super to the left, one's super to the right. A lot of talk about how that could affect the markets, and it could possibly affect French markets, but regardless of that election, I do not see it impacting the global markets in a big way at all. So, but that is something to definitely pay attention to there. Then we got the barrage of earnings coming. Number one, who am I going to be paying attention to? Of course, my number one stock, the stock I own the most of right now, which is GoPro. We already heard out of them a little earlier in the month about kind of pre-announced numbers. We'll get to see what the exact numbers are right now and kind of what they're forecasting for next quarter, which will be very important to pay attention to. Also looking for commentary on new products, which hopefully they should have multiple new products. They announced they've got a Fusion camera coming. It's called Fusion. It's a VR type camera coming in the fall. It's going to be in beta this summer. So that should be interesting. Looking for commentary on that. Hasbro's reporting numbers. We just talked about how Mattel did so bad. We'll see if Hasbro does the same. Caterpillar's reporting numbers. That should be interesting to see how China's doing. Specifically, Coca-Cola's reporting numbers, the biggest drink maker in the world. McDonald's is reporting numbers, the biggest fast food giant in the world. Chipotle is reporting numbers, and we get to see are they fully past the whole E. coli situation that happened last year, and our customers coming back in droves. That stock has jumped quite a bit in the past couple months. We have Boeing reporting numbers, which is in a sweet spot right now. We got Pepsi reporting numbers, the other biggest drink maker in the world, reporting numbers. So they have the whole commercial situation, which is kind of crazy. Twitter is reporting numbers. That stock is just a dog. It's down to, I think, $14 now. Southwest is reporting numbers. They're probably the best run airline in America, in my opinion, for sure. Under Armour's reporting numbers, which a lot of you guys out there own. We'll get to see if Under Armour starts bouncing back. The thing that keeps me from going into Under Armour and really starting to buy that stock is just, and I featured on 3 stocks I was buying like a few months ago, and then I ended up getting out of it just because I was like, it was still not quite the value I want it to be. Even though it dropped dramatically, I ended up getting rid of it just because I was like, I don't feel like it's quite there yet as far as value. So that's a quarter I'm going to be paying very close attention to, looking for maybe it to drop. And I feel bad for you Under Armour shareholders if it does drop more. If it does drop more and that PE comes down a bit, that may be a chance I really start getting involved with that one then and there. Google's reporting the numbers, which has been on the 3 stocks I'm buying for the past 2 months now. So we'll get to see what Google does and what happens with the YouTube and all that. Amazon is reporting numbers, the beasts themselves. That stock is just animal. Microsoft's reporting numbers. Starbucks is reporting numbers. We'll get to hear about global growth and some of those kinds of things. And last but not least, GM is reporting numbers. We'll get to see if new car sales are starting to weaken a bit and what General Motors has to say about that. This is one of those weeks you just want to, especially Tuesday through Friday, you just want to try to pay attention as much as possible about all these earnings, try to track them, try to see and there's so many more than what I talked about. I only highlighted some of the most important to me and some of the biggest companies, but there's so many more companies reporting numbers this week. It's one of those weeks, Tuesday through Friday, be locked in, be paying attention to some of these numbers. And when one of those stocks you really like that you haven't really gotten involved with yet, and you're like, oh, I'm so close. If one of those drops, that might be time to get involved and make sure you listen to those conference calls, those kinds of things, guys. A big, big week this week. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. If you just came across this, you may want to subscribe. We talk personal finance. We talk entrepreneurship. I'm an actual business owner. I give away so many business tips. We talk the stock market, the most of everything, including this series every single Saturday. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a busy week.